Alrighty, happy Wonder Wednesday, everyone. It's so exciting to be back here with us at Floxies Community. I would love to know if you're here watching us live right now, or if you're watching this video in the future. I hope that you're doing well whenever you'll be watching our webinars today. For a little bit of background about Floxies and who we are, we're an international community for women in UX UI design and Webflow development. We have an active community that we host in our Discord server, and every Wednesday we get together for what we like to call our Wonder Wednesdays, inviting influential speakers from either the design or the Webflow space to come and teach our women in the community. And where we like to do that, we like to do that in a little metaverse that I'm about to show you. I can see we do have a few people in the audience here, so we like to keep our events as interactive as possible. So do interact in the chat, send us a message, tell me who's watching, where you're joining us from, and what you like, what you would like to get from this event today. So this is the little metaverse that we use. And what you're seeing right now is our co-working space. So every Monday, we also get together with the community and we sit around here on our desks, at our desks, and we work together. And this is our auditorium where our guest is waiting. So awesome. Hello, hi everyone. Happy Wonder Wednesday and welcome, Megan. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much.
It's fantastic. I was just, telling the audience here on the net that, it's our first event after the summer break. We're super excited. I hope everyone had the chance to, have a good summer, restore their souls, come back with a lot of energy. I always feel, even though I have left my job at school a few years ago, I still feel as if September equals to the beginning of a new year. And so I always come back with this sort of renewed energy for the community, which I hope is a good thing. Trying to bring everyone onto the happy bus with me. And I was really happy to have you as our first speaker today, Megan, because not only you're bringing such an interesting topic with you, but I also think you're an absolutely fantastic, inspiring speaker to have. And on that note, I would like for you to tell us a little bit more about your journey. I know you're a senior UX designer, a founder, but you're so much more than that. And so just would love to hear a little bit from you and what your experience has been so far.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Megan Thomas. Yes, up until recently, I was a senior UX designer. I have 10 years of experience in enterprise software design, but I started 10 years ago by going to a boot camp and going to learning full stack development. I got my first job in tech as a front end developer and immediately started learning UX on the job. We were a very small team and everyone wore multiple hats. It was a super small startup. So I learned UX on the job and I've been working in UX for the last 10 years. And in March, I left my W 2, that's what we call it in the US, my full time job with benefits and healthcare. I left that to to found an agency. So now, since April of this year, I've been working on developing Level 11 Technology, which is an apprenticeship agency. And the reason I started that is because I've seen, like myself, I went through a full stack boot camp to get into tech. I used to be a flight attendant, so I used to say the most complicated thing that I programmed before I went into tech was the oven on board the plane, and that was just to say 20 minutes, and then food would cook. And I do not have a 4-year degree, and before I was a flight attendant, I was an illegal nanny in Canada. So the compassion I have for people who have gone through boot camps right now in order to change their life, their financial circumstances, and the fact that there are not, in fact, jobs waiting for them at the end of this process has really inspired me to create my agency so that I can pay early career designers and developers to get their first year of experience.
That is so interesting and definitely something you mentioned a couple topics there that we do talk about, in the community a lot. And some of them being the market being saturated, especially when it comes to maybe junior designers. And we often also talk about, do we even needs to distinguish, between junior and senior designers nowadays. Can
Yeah.
your skills just not be enough? And that's
Right.
something that I often say to the girls in the community. Is like, no, you've just spent 4 years in a boot camp. I don't think you should be identifying as a junior designer. You are a designer. That's it. You come with a
Yes.
set of skills, and companies needs those set of skills. And so I was really, really, again, really excited, and just to hear you going through all those sort of roles in your journey and bringing all that experience here. Just you're bringing a lot of value, and I just wanted to appreciate having you here. And thank you even before you get started with what you have to teach us. So thank you for the time and for being here.
Yeah. I'm super excited about it. I don't know the situation over in the UK, but now I just realized as we started this, like y'all are all spread out everywhere. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is what I hope can help you if you are an early career. I don't like to say the word junior because a lot of folks are coming in from other careers. They have real world experience. It's just not specifically design experience. And I want to help people get traction in their career a little bit faster. So the process I'm going to take you through is what I call my get real world UX experience, my industry recognized experience. You are actually getting the newest refinement of this. I've been teaching this for the last year. And in fact, over the last couple of weeks, I've been developing like an even tighter version. So you're getting the new version of this. What I also see the value in this doing is allowing you to provide value as a new employee as well. All of this centers around accessibility. That is my big passion, is making the web just more accessible to all people, regardless of their level of disability. So yes, you're getting the latest iteration for better or worse, Nikki, for better or worse. Let me share my screen. All right. Hopefully, if I click this, you should see get real world industry recognized UX experience in less time that you think. Can you see that? Good.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. So this is the only like quote unquote slide deck I'm going to take you through today. And I will give you access to this as well as everything else that I talk about. I am going to go pretty fast because we only have a little under an hour and there's a lot to cover. What I will tell you is that I talk about everything in more detail, literally anytime. If you want to reach out, if you prefer a video, I'm happy to do that. I also do master classes where we actually like go through this process together, and it's just a little bit less intimidating if you feel overwhelmed by this. So my process for getting real world UX experience is to work with a small business and offer them a low cost and high value website evaluation. So this is very similar to a UX audit. It's very similar to a heuristic evaluation, an expert review, all of these things that you've probably heard of and maybe participated in. This is my process. I've kind of combined this into one thing. But essentially, this whole process I'm going to take you through is how to find a small business, how to provide them some value, how to put that in your portfolio as a case study, and then rinse and repeat. And until you get the job that you want, or until you decide freelancing is for you, or hopefully it gives people the opportunity to go, you know what, this isn't for me. I think a lot of people have made this career decision change, but that hasn't necessarily proved out to be what I think it's going to be. All right, so let's start with finding the right small business. One of the things I want you to know that no matter how early you are in your career, you can offer value to a business. You're going to learn that through our workshop today. Sorry for the zooming. My mouse has apparently decided it's not fully charged yet. So let's
Don't
see.
worry, don't worry. I'm looking through the page as well, giving our viewers here a full immersive experience of us
Perfect.
doing multiple things all at once, because we're a women community after all. We can multitask. We're
Amazing.
renowned for multitasking.
Okay, cool. And just a heads up, if you have a question, I can't see the chat while I'm on the tab where I can interact with my slide or my what is this called? Mind map. So just shout if you have one. So in this workshop, I'm going to take you through the process of how to offer a low cost and high value website accessibility and usability evaluation. It identifies accessibility barriers that typically lead to digital accessibility lawsuits. Now, the laws are going to be very different throughout the world, but the European Accessibility Act was signed into law in 2022, and it becomes enforceable in June 2025. So not only are you dealing with the entire body of the European Union, you're dealing with each individual country within the union having their own body of regulation and people who are looking at websites and going, this is not accessible to people with disabilities. Here in the US, we actually have passed some recent laws with our Department of Justice regarding accessibility as well. I got tons of information on that. I'm not going to bore you with a ton of digital accessibility lawsuit information, but the reason I bring this up is because it's really important that companies adhere to these requirements. Here in the US, we're in the middle of a silver tsunami. Another reason why this is super important. The silver tsunami is 10,000 people per day in the US turn the age 65, and people are rapidly becoming disabled. Another talk that I do is we are only temporarily abled. We could become disabled at any time. In fact, I manifested a broken arm because for the last few weeks, few months, I've been telling people I could fall down and break my arm tomorrow. And then I fell off a horse about 4 weeks ago and broke my arm. And I am in the ranks of the temporarily disabled. This is the same experience a person with limb differences might have. And it's the same experience a person who cannot put down their colicky child might have. I need to use the web on my phone and on my computer with just one hand. So these rules and regulations for accessibility are so important. And it's not just, oh, somebody else's problem. It is definitely our problem, and it will become our problem as we move forward. So if you're coming out of a boot camp or you're coming out of college and you're trying to get experience, and right now the industry is not hiring juniors or early career designers, how can you find some work that allows you to continue to build your skill and demonstrate your knowledge and expertise? How do you find the right website for your skill level? I want you to focus on aiming small and missing small. For your first clients, look for a business that's under 5 to 7 pages on their website. We're not looking for anything in particular. We're just wanting to keep it super small. You should get comfortable with delivering value first before you feel overwhelmed by, oh my gosh, there's so many changes and updates I need to make on this website. For a very small page, or a very small website, like 5 to 7 pages, and that's like very flexible. It could be a few more. It might even be less. You can still provide a ton of value doing a website accessibility and usability evaluation. How might you identify some potential clients that would be a really good experience to work with that are under 5 to 7 pages? You can always bookmark a bad website and come back to it. I guarantee you, throughout your experience moving around the internet as a human, you have run into websites that are impossible to use on mobile, or they are just janky looking on desktop, or you click one place and it opens another and you're like, what is happening here? There are millions and millions of bad websites. So make sure to bookmark them, because every bad website is a future client.
I love
You're
that.
going to keep, yeah, you're going to keep track of the list using the potential client outreach tracking. And like I said, when I deliver, I over deliver. So I will be sharing an entire Google Drive. One of them is the potential client outreach tracking. You're going to want to put the information on here. There are some columns that I've used in the past. You might find that you add different columns. Maybe you want to add some different notes to it, but you've got a potential client outreach tracker, just to make it easy for you to keep track of who you are reaching out to as potential clients. But how do you actually find a company that you want to work with? This is the thing that I think a lot of people get stuck on before they start to find traction in their freelance career. And also, like, the company that you'd like to work for as an employee, it's really difficult to find all of the different companies besides the top 10 that you've heard of, or top 100 you've heard of over and over again. There are hundreds of thousands of businesses of all different sizes that you've never heard of because you've never driven past their sign on the roadway. So in order to find a company that you would have interest in, that you would enjoy working with, pick a niche that you're curious about, or pick something that you have knowledge in, something you'd be excited to grow more information about, and you'd have empathy for those business owners. So come up with maybe 10 or 15 topics that seem interesting to you, In fact, when I first started teaching this workshop, I wanted to do horseback riding lessons. Now, don't let this deter you from horseback riding lessons. I was trying to push into more advanced work than I probably should have. And that's how I ended up with a broken arm. But initially, I was like, what's available near me? Where can I go horseback riding? And sure enough, I found at least 10 locations. I was looking for something a little closer, but I found 10 locations in my general area, and all of their websites were terrible. These are not technical people. They are people who run a horse farm or a horse barn or a horse therapy something. So they don't spend a lot of time on their website, and it's not really their priority. So all of those became potential clients for me. In fact, the place that I do horseback riding lessons, I'm going to exchange lessons for redesigning their website because it's a little inaccessible. It's not awesome. You can also simply find any company near you. If you're not particular, if you don't have a topic that you're really excited about, you're like, I just need experience, it doesn't matter. Literally open up Google Maps, zoom into your location. It really depends on where you are. If you're out in the boonies, you're out in the sticks, there's not a lot around you, you're going to want to drag that map over to somewhere closer to you and kind of zoom in. Here in the US, we have strip malls. It's been a really long time since I've been in the UK or honestly traveled internationally at all. So, like the layout of business areas and business zones is going to be different, but you can see that there are companies at addresses that don't have like a sign out front to tell you who they are. And there are businesses that you would never otherwise be exposed to because you just haven't needed their services. Near me, there is a tax preparer. There is an emergency drain clean out company. I don't really know what the genre of industry that they're in, but they have a business and their website's pretty terrible. Let's be real. All of these small businesses are people who are expert at what they do, not at being online. So that's our dance space. If you want to use the dirty dancing reference, that's my dance space. And we want to take that burden off of those small businesses. So once you find a list, and I would suggest putting about 10 of them, potential clients, on that potential client outreach template, you're going to want to reach out to the business. They're not going to come find you. You're going to reach out to them. So you're going to want to approach them. While you're approaching them, consider what a small business needs to stay in business, to continue to offer their services and goods. What might their business goals be? And if you don't know, and this isn't something that you would be expected to know, honestly, as a UX designer, I have not seen a lot of courses that teach business acumen and business knowledge. So if you're not certain what those goals could be, I really and truly encourage going over to ChatGPT and saying, if I'm a plumbing business, what might my business goals be? And it will spit back out some general ideas of like, hey, what are these people trying to accomplish to stay in business? And once you understand a little bit about that, how do you, from an outside perspective, think they're doing at meeting those business goals? When you look at that website, what are some things that you notice right away that feel off-putting or need improvement? Is it the layout? Is there the placement of items just feel kind of messy? Is it the colors? Is it too vibrant, too muted? Is it vintage, old looking? Is it too modern? There's something, maybe you can't put your finger on exactly the word, but something is a little off-putting for your design sense. And I promise you that translates to regular humans going, I don't know, there's something not trustworthy about this. How do those things, when you look at this website, consider how do those things make you feel about the business regarding their value, their trustworthiness, and their credibility? All of these things are things you need to want to hand over your hard-earned money in exchange for their goods and services. So keep all of these things in mind, and then always, always, always follow a script. Follow the same script so that you can memorize it and make it sound natural. It is not our natural tendency as designers to be salespeople, but sales is in fact a skill that we need at every level of our career, even though we are not salespeople. We have to sell our product managers on why our idea is the
Mm-hmm.
right idea for the business. We have to sell our stakeholders on our long-term strategy and our plan. We have to sell our peers on, hey, I think we should do this, not that, because we X, Y, and Z. We have reasons for why we think that is. So make it sound really natural. And of course, I offer a basic script. I've got a couple of different options here for positive business impact focused if you think maybe compliance with the law is just going to feel off putting. And then, of course, I've got tons of additional context, details about accessibility, references, additional script ideas. I'm telling you, I'm over delivering. You're going to read this later and you're going to piece together what feels good for you.
I love that. Megan, I'm just gonna stop you there for a minute
Yeah.
because I'm so impressed by just this, what, 10 minutes of intro that we're going through this, and I'm
Yeah.
overwhelmed by the amount of amazing resources that you're sharing. And so I wanted to know a little bit more. And before we continue, obviously, because I know everyone is here thinking, Claudia, stop interrupting and blabbing. But what's the motivation behind creating these amazing resources, right? Or
Oh,
because
for
you're
me, my
for
motivation.
you, yeah, because you're bringing such an impact, not only here today at this event, but I'm sure you're contributing to so many people's lives out there in their career, in their progression. And I'm always personally inspired by people like you to become, a better, I don't know, community leader myself. So I just wanted to hear a few words from you in that sense.
That is a really good question. Really and truly, I have really struggled emotionally watching three of the cohorts that I taught. So I taught three cohorts at UC Berkeley of the UX UI boot camp. It's a 24-week, 6-month boot camp where we would meet live 3 days a week for about 3.5 hours a day. So I kind of really, I really get to know these people. And while they're students, they're my babies. Once they graduate, they're my friends. And I just saw that even the top students in my boot camp were not getting traction in their career. And it really, I don't want to say it hurt me, but it made me very sad to see people who were starting to give up on their dreams, who were starting to feel like they're not good enough, they're never going to make it, they should stop even trying, they should go back to working warehouse and retail jobs. And a boot camp was my entree into a better life. Before I took my boot camp, the best year I ever had on my taxes, my taxable income was $33,000. My first year as a flight attendant, I made $16,000. I qualified for food stamps, but I couldn't find where they were in New York because I lived in a crash pad with 11 other women. Like it was wild. And when I moved into technology, my first job paid $60,000 a year. So I immediately doubled my best income ever. And since then I've increased it. And I don't mean this as like a humble brag, but like this is the money that allows you to build a sustainable family and a sustainable future. Like my last year as a W-2, it was like 170,000. And like
Hmm.
that is life-changing money when you come from, as I did, we were very poor when I grew up. Nobody in my family has gone to college. Nobody in my family has worked in technology. So I'm a first generation tech person. And I just wanted to try to pave the way for everybody coming behind me to find it just a little bit easier to get traction. And this takes some effort. Like, I'm not going to lie. People, the first block is that they're not creative and they don't think that they can find businesses. So they struggle to find somebody they can reach out to. The second block is almost always that opening your mouth and taking action. It hurts. It sucks the first. Talk about it in a second. It is really scary to ask someone for their business. It is very scary to say, hey, I have a skill. I know that I'm only 2 months out of my boot camp, but I have more knowledge than this business owner does about a user experience. And to be able to put that out there and say, I can do this is scary, really good.
I
So
love
that's
it.
my motivation is to help others.
I love it so much. And I knew, or I suspected that it came from, a struggle or something that might have triggered it. And that's usually the case. And I just wanted to ask you that question because I know that there's thousands of people in our community, and each and every one of them, each and every one of you can bring that impact, each and every one of you, or of us. We all come from a challenge, from a struggle. And so to find that strength that Megan is showing us today is what I want you to do every single day, in the community, outside of the community, in your life, at work, whatever. But this strength, this power here, you can all find it within yourselves. And I just wanted Megan to tell you how she's done it so that you can get inspired by that.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, but
Thank you. No
let's
worries.
carry
Don't be
on.
sorry. I love it. I love it. Okay, so you've got a script and it feels kind of awkward, but you're going to get to learn it and get to know it better. One of the things that you need to know, especially because you're following a script, you're not selling anything that they don't need. You're applying your level of expertise and improving their business in very, very measurable ways. And then the last thing that you're going to want to do before you start speaking to business owners is practice. So refine that script so that it feels good, and then practice, practice, practice. It will never make you perfect. It will only allow you to gain proficiency. All right. So once you've started to approach the business, you've started to send out an email or something, you're selling a service. You are going to make an offer. What are you selling? You are selling a low cost, high value website usability and accessibility evaluation for just $100. This is a very easy amount of money to say yes to as a small business if you understand the value that you're getting. And that script will help you describe that value to them so that they understand, oh, $100 for that? That's fantastic. It's also a really solid amount of money to ask for if you're not getting you, if you're not used to selling as a soft skill. It is actually my throat closes up when I go to ask people for money. It is still a struggle because there's worthiness and all sorts of other things that I'm working on in here. But you will find that starting to reach out and be like, hey, give me money in exchange for something. There's a little bit of a disconnect, especially if you're coming out of a boot camp or if you're early in your career, because you are still understanding what your skills are. So there's a little bit of an undermining of yourself when you're thinking, oh, is this really valued at that? So $100 is such an easy yes, and it's an easy thing to ask for easy. How are you going to ask? You're going to be honest about your experience level. You're not trying to tell them you've got 10 years of experience when you don't. We're not lying about what we've got, but we're not going to downplay the knowledge and expertise that we do, in fact, have. We paid good money in order to learn and to grow our skills, money they didn't pay, money that or knowledge that they don't have access to, but you do. And you have spent the time to really integrate that knowledge. So describe what you do in very plain language. Do not add technical jargon or industry words. To be fair, if you can't explain it to your grandmother in very plain language, don't try to explain it to a business owner in anything more fancy. Keep it super simple. They will, when people feel stupid, and they feel stupid when we start using words that they don't understand, and we think we're sounding very intelligent, and we're kind of a little show offy. They get turned off by that, and it stresses them out because they don't understand what's going on and they think that maybe you're mocking them. So we want to make sure that the customer feels as smart as we are. We also want to approach them in the appropriate format. So I've got a list here. Contact form is the least likely to get you a response. It's totally fine to try, but it doesn't count as a no because you're basically just throwing it out into the ether and you're just hoping someone replies to you. That and some contact forms process, they filter out things depending on specific words. Maybe it doesn't actually make it to their inbox. It goes to their spam filter. So be careful with the contact form. Know that it's not going to get you as much traction as sending a direct email. And let's be real, I don't know about your inbox, but my inbox, especially after having a broken arm for 3 weeks, I am still struggling to catch up on emails. Those tend to get less traction than phone calls. Now, I'm an elder millennial, and therefore I hate making phone calls. If you make me pick up the phone, I'm going to look for a chat option first. Can I text you? Are you sure? But a phone call will actually get you a little bit more traction, but nothing does better than an in-person, hello, I'm so and so. I just wanted to stop by because I'm in the area, something like that. It is also, in fact, the scariest. So it is the best response you'll get is the scariest option to try. So find what works for you. Don't put yourself in a position where you're absolutely terrified with flop sweat standing on somebody's front porch. It is a great way to get past your fear, but be gentle with yourself and try one of each, in fact. The final thing you absolutely must do when you make the offer, when you're speaking to a business owner, is you actually have to say the words, would you like to purchase this service for $100? You have to ask for the sale. And that is a little bit scary. And I want you to expect them to say no. It is totally not just fine. They are going to say no. Most of them are going to be a no. The first no, I'm going to tell you in a minute, it sucks. But ask if you can follow up with an email with a couple more details in a few weeks. And if yes, write that email on that potential client outreach tracker. You're going to get your thoughts together. You're going to think a little bit more about what they need, and you're going to respond and say, hey, I dropped in a couple of weeks ago. I mentioned a website accessibility and usability evaluation. I wanted to give you a couple more details on that, and then let you know that it's available whenever you want to reach out. So like I said, I expect them to say no. In fact, I want you to go for no. Go for no. Go for 100 no's. And if that feels a little crazy, it's because the first one really, really sucks. There's no two ways about it. Even if you're prepared for it, it still feels like a personal rejection in the emotional resonance of your body. Like you can't get past it. The second one does suck less though, and the third one even less. And then you're like, oh, no, isn't so bad. The first one, just prepare yourself. I also would love for you to take the time to watch this TED Talk. This is Jia Zhang. I have seen him 3 times now in person. It's a really great TED Talk. In fact, his book is on my shelf over here. It's called Rejection Proof. It's actually one of the best nonfiction books I read. His videos on how panicked and hilarious he was asking people for things that he expected them to say no to. Really funny. He actually showed up on some dude's front porch in like San Francisco with his soccer or football cleats on and carrying a soccer ball, and was like, hey, can I play soccer in your backyard? And he expected the guy to say no because you're a weirdo on my front porch. No, the guy said yes. And so he learned to get past his fear of rejection by putting himself in ever more silly and increasingly impactful things that he asked for. So I'm going to ask you to go for 100 no's, and I want you to track it on this worksheet, because doesn't it feel really good when you can say mark, 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 mark? I've marked off 10 no's, and it turns out number 11 doesn't hurt that bad. Let me just double check and make sure there's no comments. Love that book. Yes,
Yeah.
that was such a good book. Okay. You will gain a lot from the exercise of going for 100 no's, even though you're like, but my feelings are going to be hurt. No, 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 no. It's going to be okay. You will gain confidence. You will gain self-esteem, and you will gain more experience. You're going to grow a slightly thicker skin, and it's going to be easier in your professional work, because like a no is just going to be like, all right, water off a duck's back. You're going to get a better understanding of people and what questions they ask you about your skills and knowledge and services. You're going to gain knowledge about small businesses and what they need to be successful. And I'm dead serious, even if you're like, nope, I got into technology so that I don't have to do sales. Every job is selling. Selling is a soft skill. With practice, it gets easier. But I promise you, when you are convincing, cajoling, pitching, promising, all of these things that we do as soft skills in our professional and corporate jobs, they are selling. I promise it.
Hmm.
Nobody tells you that, but it's selling.
Yeah, I think
You're also going to find,
convincing is right, like convincing others of your worth as well. And
yes,
convincing yourself. I believe you're the first client of yourself, so you have to
yes,
convince
you are.
yourself. And so selling is just convincing, but convincing comes with a price. And so I love that. Absolutely, you're definitely spot on with that.
Yeah. Something that you will figure out during this process is whether or not this job is for you. I feel like there is a solid percentage, probably around 10%. This is a wild guess, of my former students who took the boot camp. So out of 3 cohorts, I think I had a total of 200 students. You'll find out if this is a job that you actually want to do, or you'll find out I definitely want to stay in tech, but I'm actually a little bit more like QA adjacent, or I enjoy marketing or something. And that is okay. Nobody needs to feel like they're stuck just because they spent the money on a boot camp or college or university and they don't have options to do something different. So you're going to find out more about whether or not you like working with people, if you like small businesses, if you like large businesses. I found over time that I personally prefer to work on products with really like complex needs as opposed to just websites, but the websites are the place to get started in a career. So this is fantastic. Then the very last thing is don't do the work until you get the money. You can, we're going to talk here in a second about how you can do this speculatively and reach out proactively to a customer. But my suggestion is if you're asking for a sale, don't actually do any work until you get the money. Otherwise, they get the benefit of the work and you have just done work for free. And I don't ever recommend working for free.
And the follow-up is that they occasionally magically disappear.
It's weird. So weird how they disappear.
Mm.
Money. All right, so after we've gone through the process of finding the business, approaching the business, and selling our services, we actually have to do the work. So what is the work? We're going to evaluate the website. And this is the part where it's changed a little bit from what I have done previously. So first, you can optionally conduct a stakeholder interview, or you can have them fill out a form to gather information. I have discovered that this is not essential for me, but that is because I have close to 11 years now of experience working in business, and I was a business coach and all this stuff. It's helpful to have this information, but it's not required. So I do have questions for your stakeholder here. I've got a template here. This is the basic stakeholder questions, just a few things about the business, about their experience as a business owner. And then I've got an even longer stakeholder form of like all the things that I would ask depending if I was working with them more extensively. So I give you both of those templates. You can also do this speculatively. If you're just like, I am not convinced that I should walk up to someone and be like, hey, give me $100 to review your website, that's okay. I would suggest at least once giving it a shot and doing this website evaluation and then reaching out to the stakeholder. Your mileage is going to vary, not like your mileage may vary, it will vary. Some people are going to be like, well, now that you did the review, I don't see any point in paying you, and that's fine. There's a reason now that I have changed this review process from a 4-hour review process that is super in-depth and exceptionally thorough. I have since changed it to a very, very small and short version for you to find the top 6 issues that are on most websites according to the WebAIM 1 million study, where they look at the 1 million top websites and look for accessibility issues on those sites. So the first thing you do for the evaluation is you check for the basics. They need very basic things if they're a business. They may not need all of these, but if they're missing several of these, they probably have a problem, potentially legally. There's going to need to be a privacy policy, terms and conditions. The accessibility statement is literally, I cannot tell you enough how this, especially in the US, can offer a buffer that nothing else in the world will. There's such a thing as an ADA demand letter. It's an Americans with Disabilities Act demand letter that people will send to a business to say, your website is not accessible. I demand essentially that you fix it. Otherwise, I'm going to sue you. But there is no requirement for a person or a legal group to send an ADA demand letter. That's the accessibility statement is the one thing that can get people to go, all right, we're not going to just file a lawsuit. We're going to send a letter and we're going to get in touch with them and let them know what accessibility issues that they found. So this one's really important. I've got more information on that too. You're also looking for a cookie policy and consent notification, especially in the EU with the GDPR, in California with the CCPA. If you're not getting consent for cookies that are tracking your users, then you are legally liable for data, and that's a problem. We don't go into that. I definitely go into that in more detail, but just not in this workshop. The data storage policy, again, with the GDPR and the CCPA, are if you're tracking and storing information about your users and they don't have access to it or be able to request to delete it, it's kind of a problem. And then if they're selling goods or services on the website, they need to be using HTTPS. That's Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. It just means that everything is encrypted from end to end. And I'm sure you already know what a copyright notice, it's that little C in the circle that's like, hi, don't steal our stuff. And then we actually do an essential website accessibility and usability evaluation. I suggest doing it with a team of 2 to 3 people. And I also have the UX Social Club. It is so tiny. Like, please know that there is nothing you're missing if you don't join it. It is just a Slack channel where I hang out with some of my former students and my current mentees. Literally, it's less than 100 people. So if you're looking for someone who wants to do these evaluations with you, that's a good place to check. And then also, you're going to make sure you take good notes on the website evaluation spreadsheet, because of course I made you a template for the spreadsheet. You're going to score each issue you find with severity, and this is a subjective kind of justification or a judgment there. And then you're going to flag a priority rating for really impactful issues. This is just for your knowledge to come back later for the next thing that we're doing. But let me click on this template. This is the exciting part of the new version, is that typically you would see this first impressions. This accessibility tab alone has like 100, a little bit less than 100 criterion, but we've changed that because I don't want you doing 4 hours of work for just $100. That is just $25 an hour. And since you're new at it, it typically takes you longer. So I really want you to actually get paid for your time, and you're a knowledge worker. So it's really just essential for you to find. That's really annoying.
Megan, yeah, I'm not sure you're sharing the template, if that's what you wanted to share.
Oh, I keep clicking over to the templates and it doesn't show. Okay, hold
Yeah,
on.
because you have to select that tab, I think.
Just select that each time. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Unless you
So
share
let
your
me,
whole screen, but then,
oh, well then let me do that. My goodness. Share. All right. Oh, now we're gonna see terrible.
don't worry,
Ooh.
I won't put it full screen until you tell me it's a go. But
Can you see the essential website accessibility now? The
does it look
spreadsheet?
like an Excel? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it is definitely an Excel. So this used to be much, much, much longer, but really and truly based on my own learning and on doing, we're on number 12 as of Thursday. I've got a law of 100 thing I'm doing right now. So between July 1st of this year and July 1st of next year, I'm doing 100 website evaluations to demonstrate how to do this for people, but also it's a version for my apprentices. They have to do 10 of them before they can be part of the paid version of my apprenticeship program. So this right here is based on the top 6 issues that covered, I think it's 94.6% of all issues, accessibility issues that are found on a website. And I've narrowed it down to these checks. So you're looking for target areas, you're looking for a skip link, we're checking for low contrast text, we're looking for alt text and images that do not have text embedded in them. We're looking for link purpose and form accessibility. And this should be as easy to process as maybe half an hour to an hour. And typically the full process, which actually should sell for more than $100, I charge people. I'm literally using this same process with my company. So I'm actually not teaching you anything that I don't already do myself. So my process now is I conduct this basic accessibility evaluation, and then I reach out to the company to say, hey, I found some of these major accessibility issues, which leads me to believe you probably need the full evaluation. And then I sell them the $1,000 evaluation, which takes probably 10 hours over a couple of days, where we dig into the details of it and we use our wave tools and our Google Lighthouse in order to find all of the nuanced issues that we don't immediately review because of sorry, I just lost my train of thought because this one is brand new. We find some of these really impactful issues. These are the top ones. These are the easiest ones to find, and they're the ones that are on so many websites that it is an indication that you're going to find other accessibility issues. I want to make sure now that you can see I'm back on the mind
Yeah,
map.
yeah.
Okay,
And
cool.
we also have a comment in the chat that I can see from
Oh, cool. Tell me.
Ralph. Ralph Unreal says it seems heuristic analysis, it seems. That's his comment.
Yes. So a heuristic analysis is typically aligned with the Nielsen-Norman Group 10 usability heuristics. It might include some of Bruce Tognazzini's first principles of interaction design, but the heuristic evaluation is looking for usability. I'm also checking for all of the things that I have on the criteria for accessibility have to do with the WCAG 2.2 level A, or excuse me, level double A. So I'm actually like at a slightly higher level. So heuristic evaluation, heuristic review, also very similar, but it is combined with expert review and accessibility checks against the WCAG, the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. So yes, but also it's more robust than that. And when I
Absolutely.
show you the template for the full evaluation, it gets bananas. There's one entire tab for accessibility that takes about an hour to complete. And then there are 10 additional tabs for usability, which are associated to the WCAG, but it's a little bit, it's not the exact same thing as the accessibility. It's different. I'm happy to share all of this with you. All right. Don't want to run out of time on you. All right. So the next thing that you will do after you do the evaluation is you make a list of the top issues to fix. We're going to synthesize and recommend. So we're going to look for the higher impact items, and we're going to prioritize them over more like widely spread but low impact items. When I say stick to Miller's Law, remember that Miller's Law is the one that says, a human can only hold about 7 items in their mind, give or take 1 or 2. What I need you to understand is that's not just like I have a perfectly clean brain and I'm only thinking about the things that you've told me. No, I'm thinking about, wait, do I have to pick up milk on the way home from school or home from work? I have to pick up Susie. Tommy's got baseball practice or whatever. People have a lot going on. So my recommendation is that we only show them 3 major items so that they understand the impact of accessibility. And then everything else is kind of like, here's some additional, but I don't want to overwhelm you. So if you can group some of those smaller issues so that they don't overwhelm the stakeholder, that's fantastic. And it does get easier with practice evaluating websites. So this is not something we're going to be like, oh, I'm perfect right off the bat. There is a spreadsheet and that's fantastic. But a lot of the judgment comes from doing it over and over again. And that's why Level 11 Technology, our only service is website evaluations. We're actually working on getting a client that we're going to redesign their website as part of the apprenticeship program. But right now we're we're delegating that to the universe. The thing you're going to do after you find about 3 major issues on the website is you're going to make recommendations for how to fix them. And you're going to communicate your idea using whatever method is the easiest to do. And so sometimes that's wireframes. In fact, I'm going to say screenshots with annotations are my favorite. You do not need to like over design everything. Your value as a knowledge worker isn't necessarily the pixels that you move around on the screen. It's the reason why you move the pixels on the screen. So the fewer pixels you move and the more impact you can describe, the better. So screenshots with annotations, wireframes if you have to. I love to do what I call Franken mockups, where it's just like I'm grabbing screenshots. I take a screenshot of the whole page, and maybe this button's over here and I don't want it to be. So I'll take a screenshot of that button, move that button screenshot to where I want it to be, and then cover up where that button used to be with another, just like a little panel of color so that it appears to be the mock-up that I want it to be. That way we are not trying to reinvent the wheel and we are not trying to do work that we're not getting paid for. So the least amount of effort is the best. After that, if you somehow feel like, well, we're working in Figma anyways, cool, create those high fidelity mock-ups and prototypes, but that is like the last thing I want you to try. So once you've synthesized and recommended, you've come up with your 3 big ideas and your suggestions for how to improve them, you're going to build a report and you're going to present it to those stakeholders. Prepare a slide deck. Guess what? I have a template for you. In fact, we send it over here. I have the basic template. I've got some additional slide deck templates, and I even have recordings of presentations. I just realized, yeah, I do see that. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Sorry, if I click over to that tab, it literally
It's
just
fine. It's
goes,
in the inception. We're used to
yeah,
that.
the
Don't
inception.
worry.
All right. Um, so, whoops, there we go. So use the template. You're going to refine it as you continue to learn. So don't be overwhelmed by the style of it. You can always make it a better style at a later point. give a brief overview of the website evaluation methodology. They don't know what they don't know. So you're like, we're using accessibility guidelines, WCAG. Let's explain what those are a little bit. And then a little bit about what is a heuristic evaluation? Why do we have usability guidelines or principles? You're going to define the most important issues found and briefly, if necessary, describe those lower level issues as a group. And then you're going to, if you can, and again, this comes with time and experience, explain the legal and financial implications if any negative ones show up. And if you're like, wait, how would I know what legal implications? We go over to ChatGPT or Google and we say, are there any lawsuits that have to do with low contrast and visually disabled users? Yes, in fact, Domino's Pizza paid $2 million because a guy using a screen reader could not access their website because they had some UI elements that were broken as a result of using the screen reader. So he sued and
Interesting.
won. If you have the ability to look that up, and I do think everything is figure outable, you can explain, hey, this is why this is an impact. And if you don't know, you can always ping me and I'll help you find it. You're going to show your ideas for the issues that you have pointed out. You're going to bring up your wireframes, your screenshots with annotations, and you can describe, if possible, the estimated improvement to the business if those changes are made. Then you'll schedule 30-minute meeting with a stakeholder. In fact, prepare a slide deck and then schedule the 30-minute meeting. I should probably put that ahead of that. How about that? Perfect. Present that slide deck for about 15 to 20 minutes. It does not need to be longer. Do not feel like you need to take up more airspace because we just want to explain why it matters and why they should pay us to do the work. Answer any questions they have. Thank them for their time. It is literally the most valuable thing the business owner can give you as an early career designer. And the second most valuable thing they can give you is their feedback. So always ask for that. And then you will take that information in and do better next time. If you think that you have the ability to make those changes effectively within a reasonable time frame, consider pitching your services to fix the issues. Everything is figure outable. I don't care if you are like, I've never seen Joomla before. You can download a free option on Joomla and play with it and figure out how to use it. Same with Drupal, same with Umbraco, which is built on C# and like other technologies we don't typically work with. That's okay. Everything is documented. Everything is figure outable. If you did design in boot camp or design in school, design is the most ephemeric thing ever to try to explain to someone. If you did that, you can figure out how to fix any of these issues. Please do not charge less than $50 an hour for your time. And please note, like I said, everything is figure outable. This is where you can explore your other skills, that digital technology, digital marketing, development and coding, CMS management, everything is figure outable. And maybe you go, you know what, turns out I don't want to touch Joomla ever again. Totally okay. Now you've tried it. I don't think that you need to, again, your mileage may vary. I don't think, especially since we're in a really, you've got a lot of international folks in this group, I am not sure what legal paperwork you need to do to freelance. I think for your first couple, it's enough to be like, hey, do you want to Venmo me this? Maybe this is someone as an extended family member. Maybe it's someone in your neighborhood. Once you start doing the work, though, you're probably going to have to pay taxes. So look up freelancing laws and income taxes for your state and country. Definitely not a lawyer, not giving you advice on finances. But for your first couple, if you're exchanging $100 for a service that you're learning how to do, you probably don't need to fill out paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, add this to your case study, to your portfolio. This work is value driven. It demonstrates your understanding of UX in a way the industry will recognize. You are a knowledge worker. If you sell your services to fix the issues that you found, that additional work is another case study. Build your portfolio with real world work, and you are super viable in a job market where everybody else only has student case studies. And then finally, demonstrating this level of go-getting, like you are actively getting out there, you are continuing to improve your skills, you are gaining expertise and accessibility and usability, which my prediction is that May 2025, in the US at least, the jobs are going to pop off. We are going to start seeing, because of the European Accessibility Act, because of Section 504 and Section 508 of the Rehabilitation Act in the US, because people are recognizing we are all only temporarily abled. This is a huge boost to have on your resume and your portfolio. It shows you're ambitious and driven and you are a great hire.
I
And then
love
the
that.
next thing to do is rinse and repeat. And that's it. That's the whole process. Let me get, just because I don't want you to, uh, no, let's go right here. Drive. Let me make sure I get this before I stop sharing. Let me in. And I love that you guys get to see all of my stuff. Here is our copy link. So you've got 50 conversation starters about digital accessibility. I even have like a website design proposal. This is literally the copy. I stripped out the company address, but this is exactly the proposal that I sent to someone earlier this year to keep it super simple. There's a memory jogger for literally anyone you can possibly think of that you're like, hey, do you have a hobby website? Like, what are you doing? All of these things are in here, including examples for work that I've already done. This is all for you. Let me also stop sharing so that I don't
This
have
is
to
a
watch us
gold
go.
mine, Megan. Just, I don't know where to start. This is absolutely fantastic. I feel like, yeah, I'm just gonna open up to the community, because I
Yes.
know that we're almost at time, and I want to make sure that I give everyone here the chance to give them their appreciation as well, because I'm sure everyone's mind's been just been blown here. So, Fluxies, did you
Yeah.
enjoy this event? Yeah, I can see a few nods, a few smiles. Awesome. And I could see that we did have a question actually from Tonya, who's watching on YouTube. And that question was, and officially, let's open up the Q&A for a few minutes. So
Yeah.
if you do have a question, either put your hand up with the emojis at the bottom, or just come on mic and camera and feel free to ask away. And equally, people watching on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever we're streaming, feel free to drop your questions in the chat, just like Tonia's done here. So she's asking, is there a recommended course or certification that in accessibility that is recommended?
In fact, there's not a lot of them out there. So the DQ by Axe has probably the most affordable courses. I think it's $400 for all of their courses for an entire year. And I have started doing some of their stuff. What I teach is it is a certification program in itself. So the website evaluations, they take about 4 hours, and people are sharing comments and notes as well. We've completed 11 of them so far, but over the next year, you can get experience conducting these website evaluations as well. And I absolutely feel like everybody should give this a shot. It's going to provide you the ability to even, and like I suggest it in your first 90 days as a new employee, to demonstrate what you can bring to the table accessibility wise, is by doing these website evaluations. But the process of doing this, you will continue to learn more about accessibility and each of the WCAG guidelines because of the website evaluation template. So it is its own certification program. I didn't realize that's what I was creating earlier this year, but yeah, that's what we're working on. So once you conduct 10 of these with me, you can reach level 1 certification. And then level 2 is when you go through the entire process yourself and then get evaluated on how well you did. But you can still do this without certification. Like, it's easy to follow the process.
Amazing.
Good
Thank you so
question.
much for sharing that. Yeah,
Yeah.
great question, Tonya. Any more questions here from the community or just comments? I know that, hi, Sammy. I can see like people dropping in hellos in the chat. Everyone loved your event, Megan. Like I could see
Nice.
lots of positive feedback in the chat. But yeah, just wondering if anyone here wanted to ask a question. If you would like to, if you prefer writing it down, feel free to use the chat feature as well. But I know that we were chatting, it definitely touches a lot of professionals that we have in the community, whether it's freelancers, but I could see someone else commenting earlier and they were saying, this is awesome. It also applies to a full-time job. So the
Yep.
skills that you need for, when you're looking for a full-time job. And so, yeah, let me see. Anyone here? This session was fire. I really needed this. Lima, would you like maybe to comment a little bit, because I know that we were chatting before going live, and I don't know, what are some key takeaways that you got? I'm gonna put you on the spot. I don't know if it's too late for you.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, like I was, chatting with Claudia about my next, move in terms of my career. I was really anxious, and she asked me like, "What excites you?" And I was like, something to do with creativity, design, and problem solving. These were the exact terms that I told her, and she said, "You should probably try UI UX." And I was doing my research as to how do I go about it and what I should do, how do I build my case studies, my portfolio, and I was getting very overwhelmed. And this session was, like answer to all my questions, and you actually calmed me down. So
Oh,
I
that
am
brings
very
me joy.
happy.
Yes. Calm way down.
Yeah.
It is very overwhelming coming out here. It was after my first boot camp cohort and I saw like they say that they do career support and like I
Mhm.
get it. They probably offer some, but it is basically like you've just been thrown to the wolves. Go figure it out. And I'm like, no, 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 no. These are my children now. So I've been developing this for a few years because like you deserve more guidance, more support, more mentorship.
Yeah.
What I'm hoping to change about the industry by creating an apprenticeship agency is help other companies understand what it means to actually grow talent and not just go, well, if you haven't done exactly this level of financial design, well, then I can't hire you for a bank. That is literally not how the industry has ever worked prior to 4 years ago. And we need to get back to seeing potential and helping potential grow.
Hmm.
Thank you so much for today's session.
Oh my
You have
God,
no
you're
idea
so
what you've
welcome. Here's my
done
heart.
for me. Yeah.
Oh, look at
Thank you.
that. Amazing.
Um,
Megan, I
Please
guess
hit me up
question.
anytime you need me. Go ahead. Next question.
Yeah, just I guess one last question from me, unless I see any more questions popping in. Just checking all the channels with my thousand eyes. No. So Kyla says, "Oh my goodness, exactly. It's been discouraging. The job hunting has been discouraging at this time." So yeah, absolutely. And I have a a network of people that and I keep hearing that feedback of how hard it is nowadays to enter the workforce, or just even and that connects with the question that I wanted to ask you. How do you react to those? I know that you were mentioning, like, okay, the first no sucks, the second one not as much, but I know people that might be getting like hundreds of them, and some of them might eventually lose hope. How can we help them not to do that? And yeah, I wanted to hear if you had some, how do you react, after 50, 100 no's?
Yes. You're going to notice that your no's change over time because your requests change over time because every single time you do ask for something and get a no, you're adding that to like your mental schema of like, okay, could I have phrased that differently? Should I have asked more questions? Do I need more context before asking? So like your 50th no is going to be very different from your first one. And the one thing I need you to know is if, like, I promise you, this industry is going to flex and expand and contract because that is the nature of technology. But my prediction, literally, I'm like, especially because of this election year that we're in the US and like the tumult it brings to just the culture of us all. Next May will be that 100-day mark post the inauguration. And I think we're going to see a lot more investment in people. I think we're going to see a lot more investment in UX and accessibility related roles. So the more that you focus on learning the accessibility, even in the smallest possible way, get that day job, literally secure the bag, make sure your bills are paid, make sure you have food in your mouth, make sure your kids are taken care of. But other than that, like, don't worry about that perception of success if you haven't yet reached the job that you thought you were going to get when you first started in this UX market. It's going to be very different. Job titles are going to change. Nobody still understands UX versus UI, and that's going to be a joke for the next 20, 50 years, I promise you. So like don't let that stuff get you down. Keep making small strides. Even if you're like, I'm too afraid to ask for money on this, just do website evaluations, test yourself so that you understand, like, do I know what accessibility issues look like? Do I know how to help small businesses and large businesses? Like, I am in the habit now of looking at every website I go to and I'm like, got some color contrast issues. Okay. Like, it's not my job to do your job, but like, you are growing that knowledge, and you will find your way in this path. I promise it. There is no one's going to be left behind. What is meant for you is not going to pass you.
I love that so much. And I do see one last question, and it's another topic that is quite frequent in our chats and conversations. Do you have a quick tip for a female creative soul with imposter syndrome who does not want to put herself out there?
Oh my gosh. Um, Summon the image of, I love this question, and I'm going to be a little sarcastic, but it is also still true. Summon an image to mind of the most mediocre white man that you know, the most mediocre who has failed upward to their level of expertise. And you're just like, how the heck did that guy reach that level? And then I want you to literally do the power pose where you're like, I am this mediocre white man. And you are also going to realize, first of all, you're so much better than that guy because you actually like bring skills and knowledge and value. But like, you're just going to borrow his confidence for a little bit, because that's all that's holding you back, is a belief that somehow you're not as good as him. And I promise you that you're better. So like, I know that there's a little bit of time where we are going to pass through this tube of like, oh, I'm scared and everything is hard. And I go through that too. But just imagine that person just asking for what they want and receiving it. And then imagine yourself asking for what you want and receiving it as well. You have the ability to do this. Oh my gosh.
Absolutely. And I love the power pose. That's something that
Oh yeah.
I never practiced that before, and actually works even before doing these live streams or, doing public speaking, which terrifies me, but every now and then I do.
Same.
Don't know why. But then the power pose really helps. And so that could be an interesting exercise for us to do without the cameras, just like in our community
Exactly.
privately. Let's do it. My favorite one. And I'm just gonna share with you, and then we'll wrap it up. I do Homelander from The Voice.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put it out there.
The
Really and
Homelander.
truly. Like, just
Bring it home.
embody that mediocre white man.
I love it. Well, Megan, thank you so much. I absolutely adored having you here. You shared so much. I hope that you're happy with what you brought us today, because you definitely had an impact, and I felt it. I'm sure everyone here felt it. I can see from the chats and the comments and the smiles that it has been a fantastic talk. And so thank you so much for all the work that you do, not only for
My
us
pleasure.
here, coming to do this talk for our community, but just overall. I would love to keep on chatting with you and maybe collaborate in the future.
Yeah, everybody connect on LinkedIn. I'm there. And if you need a pep talk, connecting with me on LinkedIn is perfect, because if you send me a direct message, I will send you a voice message back and you'll be like, oh, okay, I got this.
Awesome.
It's my favorite.
And you can come and hang out whenever you want. This space is open for you. If you would like to join the community, we will be honored, of course.
Well,
But
thanks.
thank you so much.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. I really appreciate you.
Awesome. And to all the Floxies here, it has been fantastic to have you back after the summer. Thank you for coming and joining us today. We will be back next week, every Wednesday, Wonder Wednesday. And if not, I'll see you in our Discord. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a fantastic rest of your day or night. Bye bye.